We will now discuss types of pollutants, beginning with chemicals. Chemical pollutants include naturally occurring chemicals such as iron, calcium, and sodium. However, when these chemicals are released into freshwater sources through human activity, they can be harmful to the ecosystem. As previously mentioned, nitrogen containing compounds and phosphates are common types of chemical pollutants. In addition, insecticides and herbicides used for agriculture and personal gardening can also end up as water pollutants. Algae blooms. Nitrogen and phosphates are required for life. Nitrogen is required for building amino acids and proteins, and phosphates are required for building nucleic acids, DNA and RNA, as well as ATP. While it is important that aquatic organisms get the nitrogen and phosphate nutrients they need, too many of those nutrients, especially in a smaller body of water, cause harm to the ecosystem. Algae will consume the extra nutrients and overpopulate the lake. When an algae bloom forms over a lake, oxygen and other nutrients cannot get to the other organisms underneath the surface. This results in dead zones that kill fish and other organisms that do not get enough oxygen. A second type of pollutant are heavy metals. Mercury is naturally released into water from soil, rocks, and volcanic activity. However, mercury levels in the upper layers of the ocean have increased during the past 200 years. Artificial sources of mercury contributing to this increase include coal burning, mining, and wastes from consumer products. Biomagnification of mercury. Mercury that enters the ocean from coal plants and mines is often in the form of methyl mercury. Although the amounts of mercury in the ocean are small, it becomes more concentrated as it moves through the food chain. This is known as biomagnification. So this methyl mercury enters the water source here, this ocean here, affects the krill, which is eaten by the next size fish, salmon, pollock, oyster, eaten by the tuna, eaten by much larger fish, shark, pike, albacore, or halibut. Look at what happens to the levels of the mercury. The larger the fish gets, the more this gets magnified. Okay, so that's why we're given these guidelines for how often to eat certain types of marine life, because the level of mercury can become much, much higher. Mercury can also bioaccumulate. Mercury often accumulates in organisms faster than it is excreted. That is what is known as bioaccumulation. When humans consume fish that has mercury in its tissues, the mercury enters the body and causes health issues. Excess mercury in the body can cause damage to the nervous system and interfere with normal brain development. Trash pollutants. Trash pollutants includes all manufactured products that end up in water. Plastic is especially harmful to ecosystems because it does not decompose quickly. Most trash in water comes from littering, storms, and poor waste management. Common trash items include plastic items such as bottles, ring can holders, bags, caps, as well as smaller microplastics. Pathogens. When freshwater sources are polluted with inadequately treated sewage, which is water carrying human wastes and other pollutants, pathogens are more abundant. Some of these pathogens include various types of bacteria, including what's commonly known as Salmonella and E. coli, and other types of bacteria that cause typhoid fever, cholera, and gastroenteritis. Other types of pathogens from sewage include parasitic worms. One type of these worm is the Schistosoma type. They have a life cycle that involves infecting a human host and an intermediate snail host. The worm larvae hatches from eggs in human feces in water, penetrates into a snail, matures to another stage, then penetrates a human walking in the polluted stream. While in the human intestine, the worm produces eggs that are excreted in the feces, end up in a polluted stream, and the life cycle repeats. You can see the life cycle diagram for this from the US CDC, beginning here with the eggs shed from infected humans in feces and urine waste products, where those eggs hatch, penetrate the small tissue of these snails, and continues around. It infects these hosts. We end up with this free swimming parasite or pathogen that then penetrates the skin and then enters the intestine, and the cycle repeats itself.